Okay, so you've sent over a bunch of stuff on saying no. Seems like
Yeah,
someone's ready to set some boundaries, huh?
that's right.
We're diving into some excerpts today from Learn to Say No, The Art of Self-Protection.
Okay.
Definitely a title that grabs your attention.
It is, and I think it really speaks to a need so many of us are feeling these days.
Right.
That kind of reclaiming our time, our energy.
Yeah.
And your sources suggest this isn't just about politeness,
Yeah.
it's about self-respect and even power. Pretty fascinating stuff.
I'm intrigued already.
Yeah,
It makes me think, maybe you're prepping for a tough conversation with someone,
right.
or you're trying to get a handle on that crazy schedule, or just curious about how this plays into healthier relationships. Where are you coming from with this?
Right, right.
But wherever you're at, we're going to help you break down these ideas.
Absolutely. And the source material dives right into the psychology of no.
Okay.
You know how, for young people especially, it can feel almost impossible. Uh-huh.
They're navigating these social pressures.
Right.
That fear of rejection can be really powerful at that age.
Makes sense. You want to fit in, be liked, all that.
Right.
But the book's arguing that there's a real connection between saying no and your mental well-being. It's kind of counterintuitive, right?
It is. We often think saying yes, you know.
Makes you more likable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But constantly saying yes to things that drain us leads to stress and burnout.
Yeah.
So saying no can actually be an act of self-preservation.
No. Okay.
It lets you say yes to things that really energize you,
That makes sense.
the things that align with your values.
I'm starting to see how this is more than just the simple word.
Oh, yeah.
The book suggests this interesting exercise. Think of a situation where you feel pressured to say yes,
Okay.
but deep down you want to say no, and then actually just practice expressing that refusal.
Oh, I love that.
How would you say no?
It's a fantastic way to start shifting your mindset.
And you can experiment with different ways of saying no. See what feels authentic and comfortable for you.
Yeah.
The book really emphasizes being clear and honest,
Okay.
using I statements that focus on your feelings
Right.
and not on blaming the other person.
So instead of like you're being unreasonable, it's more like
Right.
I'm feeling overwhelmed with my current workload and I just can't take on anything else right now.
Exactly. It's about owning your no,
Yeah,
expressing it in a way that respects yourself and the other person.
that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And this brings us to another key concept the book dives into, boundaries.
Yes.
It's a term we hear a lot.
We do.
What does it actually mean in this context?
Well, the book defines boundaries as those guidelines
Right.
that we set for ourselves to protect our well-being.
Mm.
And that means physically and emotionally.
Oh.
They're like an invisible fence, you know?
Oh, interesting.
That defines how we want to be treated,
Uh-huh.
what we're willing to tolerate from other people.
I can see where this is going because setting those boundaries
Right.
sometimes is easier said than done.
It is.
I can already imagine all the tricky situations and potential conflicts that might come up.
Absolutely.
What are some of the challenges the book brings up?
One major obstacle is the social pressure to be agreeable.
Okay.
And this is especially true for women.
Uh-huh.
We're often conditioned to put other people's needs first.
Right.
So we end up saying yes when we really want to say no.
That resonates with me. I can definitely see how
Yeah.
societal expectations can make it hard to kind of assert yourself,
Yeah.
especially in certain settings.
Absolutely. And the book dives into the psychology of all of this.
Okay.
It explains how constantly overriding your own needs can lead to resentment, burnout,
Oh,
and even damage our self-esteem.
that's a powerful point.
It is.
So it's not just about avoiding awkwardness or conflict in the moment.
Right.
It's about protecting your mental and emotional health.
Exactly.
This is getting deep.
It is. And this connects to another concept that the book explores.
Okay.
The link between saying no and self-esteem.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you don't value yourself,
Yes. Right.
it's got to be much harder to prioritize your own needs.
Exactly. When we have low self-esteem,
Yeah.
we tend to seek validation from other people,
Mm-hmm.
which can lead us to say yes,
Even when it goes against what you want.
even when it goes against our true desires. Yeah.
Wow.
On the other hand, when we have strong self-worth,
Oh, okay.
saying no becomes an act of self-respect.
Interesting.
It's about recognizing that our needs and desires
Yeah.
are just as important as everyone else's.
So it's almost like saying no can actually boost your self-esteem
It can.
because you're reinforcing that belief in your own worth.
That's a brilliant insight, yeah.
Yeah.
And the book suggests practicing saying no in small, everyday situations
Okay.
can help build up that confidence muscle.
Like little no's
Exactly.
lead to bigger no's.
Exactly. And it'll make it easier to assert yourself in those more challenging circumstances.
Oh, so it's like a ripple effect. You start with those small no's,
It is.
and ultimately it leads to greater empowerment and
Yeah.
self-assurance in all areas of your life.
Precisely. And the book has some really practical
Darn.
tips for navigating those everyday situations.
Like, I'm eager to hear some of these strategies because, let's be honest,
Yeah.
saying no gracefully
Oh, yeah.
can feel
Yeah.
like an art form.
Absolutely. And the book breaks it down into actionable steps,
Okay.
starting with being clear and direct in your communication.
Okay.
Encouraging us to use those I statements like,
Right.
I appreciate the offer, but I'm not able to commit to that right now.
Okay. So that's helpful.
Yeah,
That avoids placing blame,
it does.
which can lead to defensiveness and conflict.
Exactly. And it's okay to be brief and to the point.
Okay.
You don't owe anyone long explanations or justifications.
Right. Sometimes less is more.
Absolutely. The book also encourages us to be mindful of our tone of voice,
Okay.
body language, making sure that aligns with our message.
So even if you're using polite words,
Yes.
tone and body language could be sending a mixed message.
Exactly.
That's something I'll definitely be paying attention to.
It's a subtle but powerful aspect of communication.
Right.
And it's okay to practice saying no,
Yeah.
in front of the mirror or with a trusted
Oh,
friend,
that's a good idea.
just to get comfortable with those words and how they feel.
That's a great tip. It's like rehearsing for a performance.
It is.
The more you practice, the more confident and natural you become.
Exactly. Now, even with the best communication skills,
Yeah.
saying no can be especially challenging when we're dealing with that social pressure
Yeah, I can see.
from friends, family, or colleagues.
Right. Yeah, that would amplify the fear of rejection or disappointment.
Absolutely. And the book acknowledges this.
Okay.
It provides some specific strategies for navigating those trickier social dynamics.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of the techniques?
One of the key takeaways is to recognize the different forms of pressure we might encounter.
Okay.
There's pressure to fit in,
Right.
pressure to please, pressure to avoid conflict.
Uh,
By identifying the type of pressure we're facing,
okay.
we can start to dismantle it and develop more effective responses.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's like knowing your opponent in a game.
I like that.
You can strategize better if you understand their tactics.
Exactly. And once we recognize the pressure,
Okay.
the book offers some fantastic resilience techniques.
Okay.
Self-care, positive self-talk, setting realistic limits on our time and energy are all crucial.
So it's not just about saying no in the moment. It's about cultivating a whole mindset and
Yeah.
lifestyle that supports your ability to set boundaries.
Precisely. The book even suggests a visualization exercise.
Right.
Imagine yourself confidently saying no
Okay.
in a challenging situation and just feeling that sense of empowerment and self-respect.
That's a powerful technique
It is.
because it reminds us that taking care of our own needs isn't selfish.
It's not.
It's essential.
It is.
It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first
right.
before helping others.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
All this talk about self-esteem and social pressure makes me think,
Yeah.
what are some of the underlying reasons why we say yes when we really mean no?
Oh, that's a great question.
The book must delve into that. Right?
Yeah, it unpacks some of those deeper psychological motivations behind that tendency to overcommit.
Yeah.
And there are a few key culprits.
Okay.
One is that deep-seated fear of rejection.
Right. We're social creatures. We want to connect.
Exactly. So the thought of disappointing others can trigger this primal anxiety.
Like our brains are still stuck in, caveman times.
Yes.
Worried about being ostracized from the tribes.
Exactly. And coupled with that is our desire for validation.
Oh, yeah. We want to be liked.
We want to be seen as helpful, accommodating.
Yeah.
Saying yes can feel like an easy way to gain approval,
Right.
even if it's at the expense of our well-being.
It's like we're chasing that dopamine hit
It is.
of someone saying, oh, you're so wonderful for doing this.
It's a powerful motivator.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
And the book points out that this pattern
Uh-huh.
can become ingrained for those who are raised to be people pleasers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Often taught to prioritize other people's needs above their own.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it highlights how these patterns can be deeply rooted in our upbringing,
Absolutely.
past experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's another sneaky culprit that the book exposes.
Okay.
It's the sense of obligation.
Mhm.
We often feel like we should say yes.
Right. Like it's the polite or responsible thing to do.
That it's our duty to always be available and helpful.
Right. even if it means stretching ourselves too thin.
Exactly. And the book cautions that this constant yesing
Mm.
can have some serious consequences. It can lead to burnout, resentment, and even damage our relationships
Oh, wow.
in the long run.
That's a sobering thought.
It is.
So it's not just about our own well-being, it's
Right.
about the health of our relationships as well.
When we overcommit and then inevitably can't deliver,
Yeah,
it erodes trust and creates tension.
makes sense.
Setting boundaries is about creating sustainable relationships
Uh,
where everybody's needs are respected.
that's a really helpful reframing.
Yeah.
And it makes me think the book talks a lot about the emotional side of setting boundaries.
Yeah.
It goes into guilt, shame, and how those feelings can signal where we need stronger boundaries.
Right.
Can you unpack that a bit?
Of course, the book emphasizes that our emotions
Mhm.
are valuable messengers.
Oh, yeah?
They alert us to situations where our boundaries are being crossed
Okay.
or where we need to assert ourselves more effectively.
So it's like our emotions are giving us clues,
They are.
but we have to learn how to decode them.
Exactly. For example, if you consistently feel anxious
Mhm.
or drained after spending time with someone,
Oh, yeah.
that feeling of unease might be a signal
Okay.
that you need to set some limits
Right.
in that relationship.
Almost like your body's saying, hey, pay attention.
Yes.
Something's not right here.
Exactly. And the book gives some strategies for tuning into those subtle emotional cues.
Oh, okay.
It encourages us to practice mindfulness,
Right.
paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without judgment.
So becoming more aware of your internal landscape,
Yes,
noticing those fluctuations and what triggers them.
precisely. And the book suggests keeping an emotion journal.
Okay.
Just track how different situations and interactions make you feel.
Oh, interesting.
And over time, this can help you identify patterns and pinpoint those areas
I hear
where
you.
you need stronger boundaries.
It's like becoming a detective of your own emotional well-being.
It is.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting better at recognizing those signals.
Right.
What's the next step? How do we go about actually creating a more supportive environment for ourselves?
That's a great question, and the book addresses this directly.
Okay.
It talks about the importance of surrounding ourselves with people
Yeah.
who uplift us, encourage our growth,
Uh-huh.
and respect our boundaries.
So being selective about who we let into our inner circle,
Yes.
choosing to spend our time and energy
Right.
with those who genuinely support our well-being.
Exactly. And just as important,
Right.
minimizing contact with people who consistently drain our energy
Right.
or violate our boundaries.
Creating a no-fly zone for negativity.
I love that. A no-fly zone for toxicity in our lives.
Yeah.
It's about consciously choosing to surround yourself with positivity and support.
Yeah.
The book encourages us to actively seek out people who inspire us, share our values, make us feel good about ourselves.
That might mean joining groups or activities that align with your interests.
Absolutely.
Reaching out to friends or family members.
Yeah.
Who lift you up. Or even seeking out mentors or therapists
That's right.
who can offer that support and guidance.
It's about proactively building a network of people who champion our growth and respect our need for boundaries.
Makes sense.
And within those supportive relationships, clear and honest communication is so important.
Because even with the best intentions, misunderstandings can happen.
Oh, it do.
Especially with something as nuanced as boundaries.
Absolutely. And the book reminds us that communication is a two-way street.
Right.
It's about actively listening to others
Yeah.
while also expressing our needs and feelings assertively.
So finding that balance between being receptive to the other person's perspective,
Yes,
but also advocating for yourself.
exactly. And here's a really interesting point.
Okay.
The book suggests that when we set clear boundaries and communicate them well, we actually invite others to do the same.
So it's like modeling that healthy behavior,
It is.
which can lead to more authentic, respectful interactions overall.
Yeah.
It's like we're creating a ripple effect
Yeah.
of positive change, starting with ourselves.
It starts with us.
And all this talk about boundaries and well-being brings us to another crucial topic
Right.
the book dedicates a lot of space to: self-care.
Yes.
Why is self-care so essential, especially when we're talking about setting boundaries?
Because self-care gives us the energy and the resilience
Right.
to actually enforce those boundaries.
Yeah.
If we're running on empty,
Yeah.
we're much more likely to give in to pressure or guilt.
Yeah, it's like trying to run a marathon without, proper training and
Exactly.
nourishment.
Yeah, self-care is the fuel
It's the fuel.
for our ability to show up for ourselves and for others in a healthy and sustainable way.
It's about recognizing that taking care of ourselves isn't a luxury.
It's not.
It's a necessity.
It is. It's essential.
And the book offers tons of practical self-care strategies,
It does.
from creating a dedicated self-care plan
Right.
to incorporating those small daily rituals that bring us joy.
Like, what brings you joy? What are some things you do?
Oh, gosh. I mean, just like a cup of tea in the morning,
Okay.
taking a walk,
Yeah.
just little things.
Those little moments can make such a difference.
They really do.
They help us stay grounded, centered,
Ah,
and better equipped to handle all those challenges.
exactly.
Now, I know the book also delves into setting boundaries in different areas of life,
Right.
like at work
Okay.
or in family relationships.
Yeah, I imagine the dynamics and challenges can be quite different.
They are. Let's start with the workplace.
Okay.
The book emphasizes establishing those clear boundaries from the start,
Okay.
communicating your preferred work style,
Right.
setting limits on your availability,
Uh-huh.
being firm about declining additional commitments that would overextend you.
So being proactive,
Yes.
setting the stage for that healthy work-life balance from the beginning.
Right from the start.
Yeah.
And the book even offers some helpful scripts
Oh, good.
for those awkward conversations.
Like how to politely decline a project
Right.
or request that doesn't align with your workload.
Yeah, those strips can be so helpful because,
They can.
some of us tend to overthink or worry
Would you? Yeah.
about how our no will be received.
It's like having a cheat sheet for navigating those situations.
Exactly.
Now, when it comes to family,
Yeah.
things can get a little more complex.
Because those relationships are so deeply ingrained, right?
they are.
And there can be a lot of unspoken expectations.
there can.
Yeah.
But the book encourages us to approach those conversations with the same principles
Okay.
of clear and honest communication.
Okay.
Have open dialogues about expectations,
Mm-hmm.
make space for individual growth within the family,
Okay.
and find ways to connect as a family while still honoring each person's need for boundaries.
Finding that balance between, maintaining those close family ties,
Right.
but also creating space for individuality and personal expression.
Exactly. And setting boundaries within a family.
Doesn't mean pushing people away.
Right.
It's about creating a healthier dynamic for everyone.
Yeah.
It's like creating a framework for respect and understanding,
Yeah.
which allows those relationships to really flourish
Right. In a more authentic way.
in a more authentic way.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank you.
Now, you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
there's a fascinating connection
There is.
between saying no and emotional intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Okay, so emotional intelligence isn't just about understanding our own emotions.
Oh.
It's also about recognizing and empathizing with the emotions of others.
Okay.
And that ability is huge when it comes to setting boundaries,
I can see that.
especially when we're dealing with people
Yeah.
who might not be used to hearing no.
Right. So it's not just about being assertive.
Right.
It's about being sensitive and compassionate in your communication.
Exactly. So imagine you have to say no to a request from a friend.
Okay.
If you have high emotional intelligence, you'll be able to sense.
If they're feeling disappointed
Right.
or hurt by your refusal,
Yeah.
and you can then acknowledge those feelings
Okay.
while still holding firm to your boundary.
So finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
between being clear about your no,
Yeah.
but also validating the other person's experience.
Precisely. And the book offers some tips for cultivating that emotional intelligence.
Like what?
Well, it starts with active listening,
Okay.
truly paying attention to what the other person is saying,
Mhm.
verbally and non-verbally.
Right.
It's about putting aside our own thoughts and judgments
Okay.
and tuning into their perspective.
Putting on a pair of emotional headphones.
I love that. Yeah,
Really immersing yourself in their world.
exactly. And the book also encourages us to practice empathy,
Okay.
putting ourselves in their shoes to better understand
Right.
their feelings and motivations.
So becoming an emotional detective,
Yes.
carefully observing, piecing together clues.
To gain a deeper understanding of what the other person might be experiencing.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that understanding can then inform how we set our boundaries,
Uh-huh.
allowing us to communicate them in a way
Yeah.
that's both clear and compassionate.
So it's like you're speaking the language of empathy,
We are
which can make those potentially difficult conversations go so much smoother.
much smoother.
Now, I know we've talked a lot about how emotional intelligence can help us set boundaries,
Right.
but the book also suggests it can actually improve our overall communication,
It can.
which can then have a ripple effect on all our relationships.
That's right. It's fascinating.
It is.
When we're more in tune with our own emotions
Yeah.
and those of others,
Mhm.
we're able to communicate more authentically,
Right.
resolve conflict more effectively,
Right.
and build stronger connections overall.
It's like emotional intelligence greases the wheels
It
of
does.
communication,
It does.
allowing everything to flow smoothly.
Yeah, and the book offers some great tips
Oh,
for incorporating emotional intelligence
all
into
right.
our daily interactions.
Okay, I'm always looking for ways to improve my communication.
Me too.
Yeah.
It starts with being mindful of our own emotional state.
Okay.
You know, are we feeling stressed, rushed, or irritable?
Yep.
If so, it's important to take a moment to center ourselves
Okay.
before engaging in those conversations.
Right. We're more likely to communicate effectively when we're coming from a place of calm.
Exactly. And the book encourages us to pay attention to our tone of voice, our body language, our word choice, make sure it's aligned with our message and conveys respect.
Right. Being intentional with our communication.
Yes,
Even small adjustments can make a big impact on how our message is received.
absolutely.
And all of this ties back to that theme of self-awareness,
It does.
which seems to be at the heart of everything we've been discussing.
Self-awareness is the foundation
Right.
for healthy boundaries, effective communication, and a more fulfilling life.
Yeah.
But it's not a one-time achievement. It's an ongoing journey.
Right. It's easy to lose sight of that in the
It's
busyness of life.
absolutely.
What are some ways we can stay on that path of self-discovery?
The book encourages us to engage in regular self-reflection, whether through journaling, meditation,
Right.
or just taking some quiet time each day to check in with yourself.
Makes sense.
It also highlights the value of seeking feedback from trusted sources,
Oh, that's a good idea.
people who can offer honest perspectives on our strengths and areas for growth.
Yeah, like constantly fine-tuning our understanding of ourselves,
Yes,
using both that internal and external feedback
absolutely.
to get a clearer picture of who we are.
Exactly. And the book reminds us that this journey of self-discovery might not always be easy. There
Yeah.
will be challenges, setbacks,
Yeah.
but approach it with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to learn,
Okay.
because that deeper understanding is what empowers us to set those boundaries,
Right.
communicate more effectively, and create a life that reflects our values and desires.
That's such an inspiring message.
It is.
It's like we're constantly evolving,
Right.
growing, becoming more aligned with our authentic selves.
Exactly. And speaking of challenges,
Yeah.
the book acknowledges that even with the best strategies,
Yeah.
there will be times when we struggle
Right.
to set or maintain our boundaries.
Right. Life throws curveballs.
It does.
And sometimes those situations catch us off guard.
They do.
Like when you encounter someone
Don't
who's
you think?
particularly pushy or manipulative,
Yeah,
or when you're feeling super stressed or vulnerable,
absolutely.
those moments can really test our resolve.
They do.
Yeah.
And that's where those insights on self-protection
Okay.
in difficult situations become so valuable.
Right.
The book offers practical strategies for staying calm and centered when those challenges arise.
So what are some of the techniques?
Oh,
Because I think we could all use a little extra support in those moments.
we could. It starts with recognizing our emotional state.
Okay.
When we feel stressed or overwhelmed,
Yeah.
the book encourages us to take a step back
Uh-huh.
and acknowledge what we're experiencing.
Okay, so name those emotions
Yes,
rather than trying to ignore them.
exactly.
Yeah.
And once we've acknowledged those feelings,
Yeah.
the book offers some techniques to help us regulate our state.
Like what?
Deep breathing exercises can help calm our nervous system,
Okay.
bring us back to the present moment.
Uh-huh.
It also suggests mindfulness practices,
Okay.
like focusing on our senses or
Mhm.
just observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Creating a pause button in your mind,
I love that.
allowing you to step back from the intensity of the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, and regain a sense of control.
Right.
Yeah.
And even incorporating physical activity,
Okay.
even just a short walk, can help shift our perspective and
Mhm.
reduce stress.
It's amazing how small actions can make a big impact
It really is.
on your emotional well.
It's like having a toolkit of strategies
Right.
that we can draw on when those feelings start to take over.
Right.
And here's another point.
Okay.
The book reminds us that self-protection
Uh-huh.
isn't just about reacting to situations.
Okay.
It's about being proactive, too.
So anticipating potential challenges,
Yes.
developing strategies to navigate them
Yeah, before they even arise.
before they come.
Exactly. Thinking ahead, identifying triggers, and planning how you'll respond.
So it's like creating a mental map
I like that.
of your boundaries.
Yeah.
So you're better prepared to navigate those tricky terrains.
Exactly. And speaking of maps,
Yeah.
the book offers a great perspective on setbacks.
Okay.
You know, those times when,
It doesn't go right.
yeah, when our boundaries don't go as planned.
Right.
Because let's be real, we're not always going to get it right.
No, especially at first.
Especially at first.
We're human.
We are.
We're bound to make mistakes.
Absolutely. But instead of seeing those setbacks as failures,
Right.
the book encourages us to see them as learning opportunities.
Okay, so reframe those experiences.
Yes.
Focusing on what you can learn rather than dwelling on the disappointment.
Exactly.
Easier said than done sometimes.
It is,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the book suggests taking some time to analyze what happened,
Okay.
identify the factors that contributed to that setback,
Okay.
and brainstorm ways to approach similar situations differently in the future.
Oh, so turn those setbacks into stepping stones,
Yes.
using them to refine your boundary setting skills.
Exactly.
Become even more resilient.
And the book reminds us that this process is
Yeah.
ongoing.
Right.
The more we practice,
Yeah.
the more confident and skilled we become.
It's like any skill.
It is.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly.
And here's an empowering thought.
Okay.
The book says that as we become better at setting boundaries,
Yeah.
we create a ripple effect of positive change in our lives.
We do.
How so?
Yeah.
How does setting boundaries lead to all these positive changes?
Well, when we start prioritizing our well-being,
Yeah.
asserting our needs more effectively,
Uh-huh.
we start to attract different people and opportunities
Okay.
that are more aligned with who we are.
Interesting.
It's like we're clearing out the clutter
Yeah.
to make space for those things that really matter.
And I would imagine as you gain more confidence
Yeah.
in your ability to set boundaries,
Mhm.
it kind of spills over into other areas of your life,
No,
right?
it does. It gives you the courage to pursue your goals, to speak your truth,
Yeah.
and to live a more authentic and fulfilling life.
Right. So speaking of authentic living,
Yes,
the book ends with this powerful message
it does.
about the importance of self-awareness.
Yes.
And as we've seen,
Yeah.
that deeper understanding of ourselves is really at the foundation of everything,
It is.
from setting those healthy boundaries
Right.
to communicating well,
Yeah.
to making choices that are aligned with our values.
No. The book reminds us that self-awareness isn't a destination.
Right.
It's a process, you know?
It's a journey.
It's a continual exploration and growth.
Right. And it's a process that's worth the effort.
Oh, it is.
Because as we get to know ourselves better,
Yeah.
we're able to live a life that's more aligned with who we truly are.
Exactly. And what we desire.
And that's powerful.
Absolutely. Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
but I hope you're walking away with a deeper understanding
Mhm.
of the power of saying no
Mm-hmm.
and setting those healthy boundaries.
Right. It's a journey.
It
It
is.
requires courage,
It does.
self-awareness,
Yeah,
a commitment to prioritizing your well-being.
that's right. But it's a journey that can lead to a more fulfilling life,
Yeah.
a more empowered life, a more authentic life.
Now, we've talked a lot about how no can help you better prioritize your life.
Yes.
But what about your physical space?
Oh, interesting.
Is there something you can say no to
Yeah.
in your physical surroundings
Yeah.
to make more space for something that truly matters to you?
I love that question.
Yeah.
It really brings it home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We've been talking about this internal landscape of
Right.
no,
Yeah.
but our physical spaces are so connected to that.
They are.
You know, we might not think about it consciously,
Right.
but clutter can be just as draining
Huh?
as an overbooked schedule
Yeah.
or a relationship that isn't serving us.
Totally. Like that feeling when you walk into a room
Yeah.
and it's just overflowing with stuff.
Yeah, it can feel really overwhelming.
It can.
And the book touches on this a bit,
Okay.
you know, highlighting the connection between our external environment
Mm-hmm.
and our internal state.
Right.
It suggests that a sense of order and spaciousness in our surroundings
Oh.
can contribute to feelings of calm and clarity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like when I finally clean out my closet,
Yeah.
it's not just about the clothes. It's like a mental shift, too.
Exactly. And just as we can say no
Yeah.
to commitments that drain us,
Right.
we can also say no to clutter, to objects that no longer serve us,
Right.
to anything that's taking up space without adding value.
So being as intentional with your physical space
Yes.
as you are with your time and energy
Exactly. It's like applying the principles of boundaries
Right.
to our stuff.
to your stuff. I love that.
And the book even suggests that decluttering can be a form of self-care.
Oh, interesting.
You know, it's about creating an environment that supports our well-being.
Yeah.
A space where we can feel relaxed,
Right.
inspired, and at peace.
I love that. Creating a sanctuary for yourself. A
Exactly.
place that reflects who you are and what you value.
And just like setting boundaries in our relationships.
Mhm.
Decluttering can be a way of saying yes
Yeah.
to the things that truly matter.
So if you say no to that pile of clothes you never wear, you're saying yes to more space,
That's right.
a sense of order and calm in your bedroom.
Exactly. And that sense of order can impact our mental clarity,
Right.
our overall well-being.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It is. It's
Our
fascinating.
physical space, our mental state, our
Our
relationships.
ability to say no.
It's all part of a larger tapestry.
It's all woven together.
That's so true. It's like we're weaving a life
Yes,
that's more aligned with who we are,
exactly.
what we truly desire.
Yeah.
This has given me so much to think about.
It's a lot to unpack, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, what's one key takeaway you want to leave with our listener today?
I think it comes down to recognizing that no isn't a negative word.
Right.
It's not selfish or mean-spirited.
Uh-huh.
It's an act of self-respect,
Right.
a way of honoring our own needs and priorities.
And creating space in our lives.
Yes.
Space for the things that truly matter.
Yes.
Space for growth. Space for joy.
Beautifully said. It's about empowering ourselves to live a life that feels authentic.
So well put.
Thank you.
We hope this deep dive has given you the tools and inspiration to embrace the power of no
Yes.
and create a life that's more aligned with who you are
Absolutely.
and what you truly desire.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Well, it's like we're creating an environment that supports us,
Right. Yeah. A space where you can actually feel relaxed
Yeah,
and inspired and at peace.
exactly. And just like setting boundaries with people,
Mm-hmm.
decluttering can be a way of saying yes to the things that really matter.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
If you say no to that pile of clothes you never wear,
Yes.
you're saying yes to, like,
More space.
more space. Yeah. To more order and calm in your bedroom.
And that sense of order can really impact our mental clarity.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing how these things are connected,
They are. It's fascinating.
Our physical space,
Right.
our mental state, our relationships.
Our ability to say no.
It's all part of a larger tapestry,
It's all woven together.
It is. It's all woven together.
It's like we're weaving a life that's more aligned with who we are,
Yes.
what we truly desire.
That's right.
Wow, this deep dive has given me so much to think about.
There's a lot to unpack, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
As we wrap up here,
Yeah.
what's one key takeaway that you would want to leave with our listener today?
I think it comes down to recognizing that no isn't a negative word.
Yeah.
It's not selfish or mean.
Right.
It's an act of self-respect, a way of honoring our own needs and priorities.
And creating space in our lives
Yes.
for those things that really matter.
Exactly. For growth, for joy, for all of it.
It's beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah, we hope this deep dive has given you some tools and inspiration
Yeah, the tools and inspiration.
to embrace the power of no.
That's right.
Create a life that's more aligned with who you are and what you truly desire. Thanks for joining us on this journey.